Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's video lecture of AutoCAD tutorial is about coordinate system. Coordinate system is a systematic way of naming points in the space, or we can say AutoCAD coordinate systems allows us to accurately and precisely define points in a 2D plane or in a 3D space. Using coordinates to specify location can be a challenge in AutoCAD. However, today's video will help you to better understand the underlying concepts. CAD system provides many ways to enter coordinate systems, and these coordinates are in the form of absolute, relative, and polar coordinate. Absolute coordinate entry always comes from the origin. In this figure, point A will be considered as the origin point for any point in a 2D plane or in a 3D space. For point B, A is considered as the origin. Even for point C, A is considered as a reference point or as the origin. And for any point, A will be considered as the origin point. So 0, 0 will be considered for any point in absolute coordinate as the origin point. However, the case is different in relative coordinate. For every point, the last point will be considered as the origin point. For point B, A will be considered as the origin point. However, for point C, B will be considered as the origin point. And for the next point, C will be considered as the origin point. Whereas polar coordinate is similar to the last video lecture, in which we entered line with angle. So you can give a radial distance with angle in the polar coordinate systems. So how can we practice absolute coordinate, relative coordinate, and polar coordinate in AutoCAD? So first open AutoCAD and define units and drawing limit settings through MV setup. So I did MV setup, enter N, enter D decimal 1 as scale factor, and let's suppose I'm defining 20 as a drawing limits. First we can do the grid settings so that we can accurately define spaces between the grid, and I choose 1, 1 through grid settings. So now for absolute coordinate, first and L enter, and then 0, 0 enter for the origin point, and then just you have to press hash command in absolute coordinate, and you can replace hash command through @ for relative coordinates. So let's suppose I'm entering the same points in absolute coordinate. So first L enter 0, 0. So the starting point is 0, 0. Then hash 2, 2, and then hash 2, 3. So this graph is almost similar, and this is basically similar to the same drawing. From here, A is considered, or this 0, 0 is considered as the origin point for B. So you can count 2, 2. So 1, 2. At x-axis and at y-axis, 1 and 2. Similarly, point C is at 2, 2, 1, 2. And at y, 1, 2, 3. So for every point, A is considered as the origin point. If I enter the same points through a relative coordinate, so the graph might be different. Like for relative coordinate, L enter, like for relative coordinate you have to replace this with @ and this hash symbol @. So if I enter the same points through relative coordinates, the result might be different. So L enter 0, 0, and then @ 2, 2. Till here we are getting the same points, but for the next point, that is @ 2, 3. So for point C for in the relative coordinate is here, whereas point C in absolute coordinate was here. So for point C, this point B is considered as the origin. So from here 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. So we entered the same points through absolute coordinate and we got this figure, and we entered that particular points through absolute relative coordinate, and we got this figure. So for every point in relative coordinate, the last point was considered as the origin point. And whereas polar coordinate is very simple, in which you simple L enter 0, 0, and then you enter a distance 12, and then at the angle of 45 and whatever, so you can simply enter angle with 45. So you first enter radial, distance, and with the angle. So this is polar coordinate. So in today's video lecture, we learned that how can we enter points through relative coordinate, absolute coordinate, and polar coordinates.